Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. This is the first of a series of webinars that are going to be all focused around new functions and features and workflows coming out of and using version 10 of either Terrain Tools or of RoadEng. So today's webinar is really going to focus on a RoadEng specific feature that's in the location module called corridor surfaces. So we are going to be featuring several examples of working with multiple alignments, including a major culvert replacement, as well as a couple different sort of intersecting road, road projects. So to get started, just a quick introduction. I'm Erin, Business Development Manager and your resident webinar host. I've got a few folks from our technical support team here with me today. I've got Craig Spears as well as Matthew Dickey, so we're going to kind of do a little dividing and conquering of the examples. For our usual housekeeping, if you have any questions, feel free to expand your GoToWebinar panel at any time. There's a little question section. You're welcome to type it. Any questions, we'll tackle those at the end. And yeah, beyond that, you're muted, and this video will be up on our YouTube page in the near future. So I'm going to start off here with a little bit of an introduction just to what corridor surfaces are and a little bit of the background, and then I'll pass it over to Craig for the first example. So corridor surfaces are basically tin surfaces that are created automatically during the processing of a horizontal alignment. So you can see kind of here in the picture, it's just a triangular, irregular network that is being made from that road surface or alignment surface that you've created. Now, we can work in version 10 with multiple corridor surfaces. Each corridor surface corresponds to a horizontal alignment, and it can correspond to a specific template layer. So it is possible to create multiple corridor surfaces, like we're kind of seeing in the image here in the background, for a single alignment. So this image in the background, you can see that we've actually got a pavement corridor surface, as well as we have our subgrade corridor surface, and you can even control the 3D window properties of each of those to give them different colors and etc. So this is really useful as well for working with different horizontal alignments. So it doesn't need to just be a single template layer, it can be different alignments, and we can start to control these and work with these with different surfaces. It is also possible to create something that we call a merged corridor surface. So this is basically and Craig's going to show this in his example in detail with the culvert, but we can basically create surfaces that get merged down to become the original alignment, or the OG, and then we can use that in our future alignment calculations. Yeah, it sounds complicated. When you see it in action, it actually makes a ton more sense, but really, really powerful for simplifying your workflow. If you were a user of RoadEng in the past, you may remember those moments where you had to go take it out to terrain, create a terrain surface, merge it, and then bring it back for some more work in location. So we're really simplifying that process. No more going back out to terrain. We can work with merged surfaces right in location. So some pretty big benefits that we hope you're going to see through this new functional improvement out in version 10, which, by the way, is officially available today. I think the marketing magic starts on Monday, but if you want it, you're welcome to get it today. Core benefits, you can see in 3D, you can verify cross-section by cross-section, and this is particularly relevant if you're working with total stations or other survey equipment, so you can verify and see these multiple surfaces in the 3D. You can see the sections and profiles of other alignments as you're designing, so they're all going to be visually connected through your different windows. Once a corridor surface is being created, you can use it in future calculations. So this is that construction sequencing stuff with merged surfaces that's really useful. And then again, that kind of, overarching workflow improvement around not having to go back to terrain. All of this is dynamic. And it's going to really, hopefully make your life a little bit easier on working on projects that have multiple alignments or needing multiple surfaces. The core benefit that we're hoping to really show you is that improved workflow. So this increased flexibility and modeling between corridors and sites. And with that, you can see our 3 projects we're going to tackle today: a major culvert, a resource road junction, and a rural T intersection. And I'm going to pass it to Craig Spears, and he is going to tackle our first of these examples, as well as a fundamental introduction to the software and the UI for this corridor surfaces. So Craig, it's all you.
Thanks, Aaron. Good day, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm going to start by just showing you some simple stuff that you can do, how to create a corridor surface. So I'll just open up design that I've got created here. And it's a very simple design. It's got a single alignment in it, and there's the cross section. So how do you create a corridor surface? It's pretty straightforward. You go into the corridor menu, you click on options, and then terrain/surfaces, and we'll add a new surface. It's going to be a corridor surface. And here you can choose, well, the first item here is the alignment, and that's the name of my horizontal alignment. The layer can be any layer that's active in your template. So it's come up as a default as final merge surface, but I could switch that. I could make it subgrade surface or any other layer that's in my cross section. Also with the corridor surface, there is some formatting that is persistent with the surface. So I'll just set some colors and line types that are distinguishable. And I go ahead and we've created a corridor surface. It's going to do the recalculation. And you notice in the recalculation, it now has a checkbox for corridor surfaces if you have any active in your design. So I'm just going to go ahead with that. And nothing looks different right now in the plan or the section. But if I glance over at the 3D window, you can see I've created a tin model from the cross sections of the corridor. To be a little clearer, let's just have a look at what is actually showing there. I'm going to disable shading of the triangles, and you can see that it's basically a tin model that's created from the cross sections. So these cross sections are defined by the template, and the corridor surface is built from a specific layer in the template, in this case subgrade, and that's what we're seeing here in the 3D window. That's the short version of how to create a corridor surface. There's other ways to do it, or other menus you can access. For example, I can go over here and go into reference terrain surfaces, and I'll get to the same dialog box, which allows me to add more surfaces. The other thing, this is a single alignment. I can, with a single alignment, actually create multiple surfaces. So right now I've got one surface, which is the subgrade surface. It's that one, subgrade, fill subgrade. I can also create another surface for my surfacing material, be it pavement or gravel or whatever. Again, same procedure. I go into options, terrain surfaces, and I add another surface, corridor surface. This time I'm going to choose SRF1 because I know I've got that in my template, and I want to change the color to something that is different. Just quickly do that and recalculate, and now you see I've got a surface actually sitting on top of another surface. So I've got multiple surfaces, and yeah, this is just for one alignment. I'll show you two alignments or multiple alignments in a moment. One of the things that's nice about corridor surfaces is that they're built-in location, and of course you can export the corridor surface to terrain. So I can go File, Save As, Corridor Surface. Let's call this Test. And it's going to let me pick which corridor surface I want. So I'll go with the subgrade surface, and I can automatically edit it in terrain when it's finished. So let's just go ahead and do that, and you'll see this is kind of the old school way of handling surfaces. Is we're now back in terrain, same surface, there it is all by itself in terrain. You can do things with like contour it or merge it with topo or other things, and some of that we can do in location, but this is a terrain surface. It's well defined in location, so you're just really coming into terrain to have another look at it. Along with that is the ability to save out a surface for construction purposes in land XML format. You could do this before, but now it's a little more, I'll say, packaged, that you know exactly what your surface looks like. So I'm going to say, save this as a land XML file. And up here, I've got include terrains and surfaces, and I can choose which surfaces I want in the land XML file. A land XML file can hold more than one surface, and the rest of the information here is related to alignments and cross sections, which you can also include in the land XML file. So once I save this, I could open that XML file up in terrain, or I could take it to Total Station for construction stakeout, or automated machine control systems, and so on. XML is the way to go. But the key thing here is that the surface is quite well defined now, and you can see it in location before you get out in the field on your equipment and find out that the surface isn't what you thought it was. So I think there's some savings in steps there. The other thing, just in passing mention, is that the surface can actually be viewable. I've only got one alignment, but I can actually see what the surface looks on the cross sections within this alignment. So to do that, I turn on this, in my section options, I turn on reference surfaces, and I choose which surfaces I want to see. Let me actually make this a little more exaggerated so we can see it as well as the template surface on the cross section. It's a bit hard to see, but you can see the two line up perfectly, which verifies that your surface is truly matching your template. I also found, as I was doing this example, it's useful for other things, and I'll just quickly bring this up. It was a switchback situation. I can't remember where I placed it. Maybe I'll just have to describe it. Oh, here it is. We have a single alignment, and I just sketched this in, and I've created a corridor surface. So to see the corridor surface in 3D, there it is. I did this in all of 15 seconds. It's not very good, but I've got a corridor surface, and what I can see on the corridor surface, if I go to this section here, I can see the other piece of the surface. So this is a new functionality. So in a situation like a switchback, you could see the road above you or below you on the switchback corner. Just something I came across. I think a lot of things with corridor surfaces they'll come about naturally. It's just an additional functionality that the software has, and there'll be lots of different ways to take advantage of it. So this example was one alignment. I'm just going to quickly switch over because I've got a multiple alignment example. And same thing, I can create multiple surfaces from different alignments. I showed you how to create two surfaces from one alignment. Now I'm going to go ahead and create two surfaces, each from their own alignments. So right now I'm on the main road. I go up into corridor options, terrain surfaces. We'll add a surface here, corridor surface. I like to work with subgrade. I find it's often matches the merged surface, but it's just a bit better defined. So again, I change the color to something recognizable. I created the mainline surface. I'll switch over to my other alignment and I'll do the same with my other alignment. So again, options, terrain surfaces, we'll add a surface, corridor surface. And now it's telling me I'm in the spur. That's my default. And again, I'm going to make it subgrade. And I'll keep the color the same. No, let me change the color. I'll change it to blue so we can see a little clearer process. And there is our spur road coming off the main line. Now, one concept, I think Matt's going to talk a little bit more about this, but one concept that's it's available is that you can tell the software that this surface, this original surface, the main surface, I want that to be merged into the ground just as if it was constructed. So when I come to do the spur road, it sees a new ground situation. And to do that, again, back into options, terrain, and I choose that surface, main, and I turn on merge, excuse me, merge into topo surface. And now after it completes this surface, it's going to merge it into topo in a subtle way and use it when it calculates the spur alignment. So let's just watch. Notice how the spur here is daylighting on the original ground. Now that I've put the main into the merged surface, it's going to change. It's going to daylight to the mainline surface or original ground, whichever it hits first. And there you can see just that. So now if I look at cross sections in here, you can see in the cross section that dashed line is your mainline alignment, and the actual current cross section is daylighting to the other alignment. So it gives you the ability to build onto existing surfaces in different ways. So that's the kind of nuts and bolts of corridor surfaces. Oh, one other thing that's worth note. I've got dynamic surface calculation set. If you're doing a really long corridor, you might not want to have that set because it'll add computation time to it. But what that does is anytime you make a change to the surface, if I came over here, edited the surface, you'd see the surface dynamically recalculated, and there you saw it move. So the whole thing becomes more dynamic. Of course, with a very long corridor, that might not be what you want to do, and you want to save processing time, but you have that functionality. Okay, let me switch over to the main example I wanted to show you, which is a culvert project. This one is, I think, quite representative of the type of project that corridor surfaces would be good for. So I'm just going to load this up. And what we've got is we've got a stream alignment, which has just been sketched in along a stream, an existing stream. And we've got an existing road alignment over here, which is basically sitting on top of the road, the existing road. And what we're going to do is we're going to take out the existing culvert. We're going to excavate that section out, and we're going to replace the culvert and then fill it in around the road area. Fairly common for a large culvert replacement. So to do this, I'm going to use corridor surfaces. I'm going to go back to the stream alignment, and I'm going to, there's the alignment I've sketched in. This is going to be the excavated trench that I'm going to put in. So it's starting here on the alignment. It's going to go to there. I'm going to excavate that out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put a template in there which generates the trench. So I'll go into my templates, and I've set this up. I've built some templates from our e-library, and here is one template that I want to use. It's a trench, and it just digs a trench. The other component that I'm going to apply is what's called a trench with a culvert in it. It's really just another trench component, but it's got a culvert sitting in the middle of it. So first things first, I'm going to apply the TR trench component to the areas that I want to excavate. So let's just do that. Assign by range. I'm going to go in, say TR, and I quote the stations here in just to save time, 159. And this is along the stream alignment, stationing along the stream alignment, 475. Oops, 75. So there I'm going to put a trench in, and let's just quickly have a look at that surface before I put the pipe in. Come back out. Now I'm going to create a corridor surface. I need a section here to see. Let's go somewhere in here. Look at, there's the section, there's the trench. So I'm going to create a corridor surface which represents that trench. Options, same thing, corridor surfaces. We'll add corridor surface, and it's going to be, I'm going to use the subgrade layer. Again, my favorite, and I'm going to change the color to something noticeable, and away I go. Recalculate, and now you can see I've got the original ground so that I can see through it. I've got it slightly transparent. You can see where the excavation is going to go for that trench. So let's go back now and add another template. This time I'm going to add that other trench with the culvert in it. So let's choose that. It's called CLV trench with culvert. And again, I've got the stations written down. This is a 10-foot culvert. It's a metric project, 230 to 330. And there it is. I go ahead and calculate that. And if I look in at a cross section in here somewhere, you can see there's my culvert. Now what I want to do is I want to incorporate that culvert into my merged surface so that when I come back and fill the road, it's going to account for that quite large culvert. So to do that, I create yet another surface. This is called a merged surface this time. Options, terrain surfaces, one more surface we're going to add. Corridor surface again. This time I'm going to use merged surface, and I'm going to try to choose yet another color. And now calculate that and go over here. You can sort of see that there is a surface that comes down to the bottom of the trench, then it comes up over top of the culvert and forms a surface. So now if I go to my main alignment and I fill to the merged surface, it will fill that in. So there's one other thing. There's a few more things I could do here. I could create surfaces for the top and the bottom of the pipe. I could place reference features to show where the pipe is. I'm not going to do that. It's just going to take a little extra time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this merged surface that I've created goes into the construction merged surface. So again, terrain surfaces, merge into topo surface. Yes, we won't see any difference in this alignment. Same surface, but when we switch to the road alignment and we calculate the road alignment, we'll see that sections in here are going to have a new surface that they're targeting. Let's just see if we can see that. Well, this looks a bit complicated, but it's explainable. So this is this red line here. Let me change colors to help you visualize. Reference surfaces. This surface here is our final merge surface. Let's make it a different style line. And there. Okay. So after the trench was dug and the pipe was put in, on the cross section that we're looking at, which is a skewed cross section, we're actually just cutting across part of the pipe. We're not getting the full pipe. I don't know if that's geometrically obvious, but we're cutting across the pipe, so we're getting a funny looking cross section. This area here is our current roadway, and this is the merged surface, and we're out here on this cross section. And here's a more classic cross section. We're now right in the middle of the pipe section, and there's the area that's been that has a pipe in it, and here's the area of the trench, and this area here is an area that we're going to use for quantities. That didn't look right. Not sure if I can explain that. Maybe I have to circle back to that one. Anyway, the idea is that we get this area, we calculate the volume of that and use that for our construction quantities. I think the other thing you want to do is visualize what's happening here by going to create yet another surface, which represents the final surface of the roadway. So I'll add another surface, make it another color, and let's just do that. So this final merge surface for the road. You have to keep organized with this stuff because you can collect a lot of surfaces and it can get confusing. So there is the final surface, and let's just change the display properties for that so we can see it. Right now I think it's transparent. Let's make it opaque. And yeah, there's something going on. It's not including my pipe in the merged surface, which is what I saw here. I would have to go back to the template and adjust this pipe so that it became part of the merged surface. That will probably take me a few minutes. I won't go there. What I will do is I'll flash up a completed design so you can see what that would look like had I done everything correctly. There, that's the cross section from the example that Erin had in her PowerPoint, and there you can see that the fill slope is not including the pipe, and it's filling in that trench after. And of course, if the cross section for the stream had been set up, you could do things like add riprap in or other structural materials to make the cross section more representative of your culvert. You can even do things like add additional alignments to create things like wing walls and so on. I think we'll be having more videos and tutorials coming out on that sort of thing. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. If there's any questions, maybe now would be a good time, or I'll hand over to Erin. We have the questions at the end.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Craig. Yes, we are going to keep going into the next example. And so it's over to you, Matt.
Alrighty. Perfect. So I'll assume everyone can see my screen, and I haven't shown the wrong screen.
You're looking good.
And excellent. All right. So yeah, I'll pick up, kind of build on what Craig introduced. covered a lot of the functionality. We'll just look at a couple applications as they relate to tackling our road junctions and intersections. So the first example that I'll run through is more of a resource example, and that's kind of dealing with steep ground where we're not necessarily setting our intersections up to have vehicles entering and going in both directions. So more of a merge rather than a intersection where you can come up to it and decide to go left or right. This example, we've got one road that takes off climbing the hill quite steeply, and then we've got another alignment that descends quite steeply. So I'm just going to go through the motions to make sure I can visualize what I want to work with. So going into my 3D options, I'm going to add a corridor surface, just the same way as Craig had introduced. And I am going to show this alignment. So I've got horizontal alignment 1, which is showing up in as a magenta line, just highlighting which one I'm working with right now. And I'll make that olive. And I usually prefer to work with the final merge surface, so it's just taking my subgrade and the surfacing layer that I have on that, and it's kind of showing what the final surface is going to look like rather than all the individual surfaces. Now this, my main road here, the one that's climbing, is largely going to dictate where things go. So I'm going to merge it into my topo surface. And just as Craig introduced, that's going to help me see if I end up filling onto that road where my fill intercepts that road or intercepts with that road surface. And if I end up cutting it, I can see how that's going to affect the road prism as well. So I've got that shown here. I'm going to click add and I'll show another road surface for horizontal alignment 2. And in this case, I'll make them slightly different. And in this case, I don't want to include it in my merged topo surface. So we've got both of those shown. Now I'm going to just do something optional. I'm going to change my alpha channel to be 255. So that makes that surface fully opaque. And of course, when I did that, I changed them to have the same color because I did a multi-select. So there we are. So we can see that if I built that as is, it would be a mess. I'd end up severing access to one of these roads if I was working with it. So let's jump over and look at this from a design perspective. And I'm going to design this as that merging onto that. So I want to go into my profile options. I'm going to turn on reference surfaces. And we can see, well, we can toggle which reference surface that we want to see individually if we'd like. We could show both. I just want to show the horizontal alignment 1. So we can see there's our finished grade way up above where my current alignment is. And I'll do the same in my section view. So that's that. Obviously, we have some issues. We'll start tackling the design just as we normally would. So line those up. And I'm going to go with a very tight vertical curve here, just reflective of the common practice in the area. And if I wasn't properly accounting for where that other surface is, it would be really easy to say, well, there, we're tying in at that elevation, we're tying in at that gradient, and we've got our vertical curve, and away we go. But now we can click through and we can see that if we actually built this as is, we still need some time to get the proper separation between those two alignments so we don't end up don't end up severing access or undermining something that we want to preserve. So I'm going to just come in here. I'm going to make a few quick adjustments so I can tell right now that if I want to preserve that, I'm going to have to be way up here. And still higher yet, but I've got a massive bill going on here. That's kind of funny. So I'm going to just take that. I'm going to move that. I would have just had to have done a recalculate there to get both. We'll set that there. We'll add our proper curve in here. I want to keep going out a little further here before we close. I'll go a little higher yet. That's looking pretty good. And I'm steep. It's within my tolerance, so I want to be adverse grade of 14 or less. So that works for my case. Now here I'll take it just kind of one step further. We can at a glance click through our cross sections and see that what we're designing works. But if we want to be even better with what we have planned, we can modify what we're working with to exclude our ditch, for example, so we're not showing ditching through this other alignment. And for that, I just go into assign by range, B ditch exclude, and I'm going to just exclude my ditch with an override. And there we are. So we've got a nice transition between those two roads, a big fill. It's kind of a product of the ground that we're on though. And yeah, we could adjust, we can continue along if we're happy with what we have. And I won't go through making adjustments here, but one of the big benefits of this is that it's dynamic. So if I pull this over here, it's not going to move my other alignment for me, but I can see, and let's just do a quick recalculate. I can see where that other alignment lands in relation to it. So we can make our adjustments and narrow in on the best solution rather than having to jump out, merge terrains in the terrain module and go from there. So with that, that's kind of our steep resource example. Let's jump over and we'll look at kind of a less geometrically constrained example where we can deal with your classic T intersection that everyone would have driven on at some point in their lives. So here we've got two roads, and the second road, it could be a road, it could be a driveway, it could be, these could be resource roads, etc. It's a applicable workflow for a variety of situations. So once again, I want to just set this up so I can see what I'm working with. So I'll access it in here. So I'll go with horizontal alignment 1, final merge surface. I'll make it purple this time. I'll include that in our topo. And I wasn't thinking. I could have done this in one click. Could have clicked add rather than hitting OK. I'll come in here. I'll add this other alignment in. Let's go with that. We'll make it green this time. And we'll jump over and we'll assume that main road is where we want it to be. So we'll design our intersection for this secondary. So once again, I'm going to make sure I can see those reference surfaces. I'll do that in both my views. Want that one. So there we are. Gonna line it up. So again, just making sure I'm at the right elevation. And I don't want it to be that steep. I'll pull that out here. I'll pull that down. I'll add in my curves. Pull that out a little bit, give me a little extra room. And we've got kind of our elevation figured out, our grades, but of course one of the big things that we'll likely want with a T intersection is to get that flare to transition onto the other alignment. So for that I'll use reference features. So this has been in the software pre-version 10, but being able to certainly complements being able to merge surfaces in there to do things like what we're doing here. So I'm going to go add horizontal alignment. I'll just new empty alignment. Turn that off. So I'm going to set that up here, and there we are. I'll add a curve to that. Let's go small. So that's one curve, and we'll add another alignment for the other side. I'll add my curve in there. And I'm going to just order this. I'm going to shift this down. I'm just shifting this down so the other alignments are calculated first. And then I'm going to tell the software that my road width should be defined based off these features rather than a fixed width. So to do that, I'll go into my templates using this template here. So the right side of my road is horizontal alignment 3. And the left side of my road is horizontal alignment 4. Oh, I did something silly there. I rewrote it rather than adding that in. But, so that's right, and we'll hit OK. So it's working on one side and I misclicked on the other.
Speaking of misclicks, we will be coming back to Craig. There was a misclick in his culvert example. So Matt, once you're done, yeah, we'll pass it back
Okay.
to Craig, who yes, just selected the wrong surface. I think it was to merge. So you're on deck, Craig. This is apparently the webinar of misclicks. You know, no pressure, everybody. It's a live webinar.
So that is, I just need, okay, so that's on my left side, so horizontal line. Okay, that's on my right side. There we go. Now with this, we can see it's giving us the transitions, but it's a pretty sloppy transition where we've got these wide gaps in between our cross sections, so it ends up being a not smooth line. But we can get around that just by adding more report points, and we could add more report points manually. I'm going to just add them in here, 1 meter intervals, and we'll go out to station 30 should give us enough. So there we've got that nice smooth transition to show the flare of what we'd like to work with. And of course, as I did with last time, I could remove my my crown and my ditches using the overrides. So we'll just do my ditches here to start. B ditch exclude right, and so I won't do this for each side or each variable that I want to modify. We'll just show it for one. So it's pretty slick, pretty easy to work with, and of course, as I mentioned with the other one, the nice benefit of this is that we could move around our horizontal alignment one and quickly see how that affects our alignment and make whatever adjustments are needed. So we've got our T intersection, and then we have our rural or resource road example intersection. And with that, I'll stop talking and hand it back to Craig.
Yeah, Craig, it's coming your way. So yes, just for everyone who's watching, we're just going to go quickly back to Craig, take a look at his screen, and he is going to share with us, yeah, the little
Yeah,
tips.
thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I discovered actually, Aaron discovered and flagged me that I made a little mistake when I did this. So the mistake I made was that this pipe area was not being included in the merged surface, and that was because when I set the merged surface, I did not set the stream merged surface. I set only the subgrade as the merged surface. So you got to keep things organized, or it's easy to get confused. But if I make the final merged surface, which includes both the cut and the pipe, and I include that into my merged construction sequence, I'm going to get a better result. I'll just quickly demonstrate that. So there, now only this material has been included as fill because the other is there, and you can see it in the 3D view. that we're not filling right through the pipe. So the pipe has been accounted for. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks to our presenters. We are going to hang out here for another 10 minutes or so and answer some questions. So if you have a question on any of the topics we've covered today for corridor services, please open that Q&A section of your GoToWebinar panel. You can type it in and we will start to tackle them. So the first question, in the intro of the 3D images, the road, and Craig, this one's coming your way, I should say. In the introduction, the 3D images of the road showed individual surfaces. Can you show us again how to do that?
Sorry, you want
I'm
to see for
reading it
one road
as a single alignment
multiple
in the different
surfaces.
multiple surfaces, yeah,
Okay.
by layers.
Okay. So that, we'll just redo that quickly. Culvert replacement. Nope, we want to be into the intro folder, and this is a single surface. I'll go quickly here. So there's a single alignment. First, we'll create one surface, corridor options. First surface we'll create is subgrade. I'll add that corridor surface, and we'll make that subgrade. You could do this for 2, 3, 4 surfaces, whatever. So there's our subgrade surface. And before I exit, like Matt said, I could just click the add button again and add another surface. And this time I'll make it SRF1, and I'll maybe change the color for that. So I could have n of these. It only makes sense if you've got them in your template, but they could be all sorts of different surfaces. They could be as-built surfaces as well if you've got a whole bunch of as-built materials. And that will give them to you. Let's go quickly and have a look in 3D. The colors I chose weren't the greatest, but if I make this a darker color, I think you'll see right away I've got 2 surfaces. There you go. So there's a surface, and then this surface, I'll zoom in a bit here, it's just sitting on top, and it stops at the other surface. So I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Next question, and I feel like I'm going to send this one to Matt, but Craig, chime in if you want as well. With the 2 alignments on the spur road, can you put it so that the elevation would change on the tie-in road when you change the elevation on the main road?
Not automatically. So the big step forward here is that when we have those 2 different alignments, it accounts for where it's at, but you still have to move your alignment to tie in where you'd like to.
I just say not yet. We can't do it yet.
Yeah.
It's not that advanced, but yeah, it's just not there yet.
Awesome. Yeah, I assume this is something that'll be coming in the future, so stay tuned. More fun features coming V11 as we're announcing 10. The next question, can you show fill extents or alternate surfaces of multiple alignments in multi-plot?
I can try and answer that question. You can show them in profile, and you can show them in cross-section. I think you can also show them in 3D. I'm not certain about that, but you certainly can show them in profile and cross-section.
And perhaps what we can do is follow up with that question asker more specifically. Yeah, talk to them about their example and walk them through it. Next question. How do I make the alignment drape over the surface?
Oh, that's an easy one. You just delete all the points in the vertical alignment, and it will automatically drape onto the merged surface. That is the default behavior. If you have no vertical alignment, then your vertical is assumed to lie on the merged surface. And usually in past, the merged surface has been the ground surface, the original ground surface, but now it could involve other construction surfaces.
Oh, very good. Yeah, so this is our unofficial announcement. As I said in my very brief intro, our official announcement is coming on Monday through some fancy marketing materials. But for those of you watching, if you are on support, V10, it's out today. You can get, you can get set up with it. More details up softry.com/version 10. Version 10 has obviously corridor, surfaces, one of the big new feature adds, but we've got a whole bunch more coming along with it, and I might just take a quick second to highlight a couple. We've got some great new image handling improvements, so image control for transparency, this super fun function called move size rotate by vectors, allowing you to better move and position different items within the terrain module. 3D improvements, a huge step forward for us, editing in 3D. We're going to be hosting a webinar 2 weeks today on 3D improvements, so stay tuned to that. 3D symbols, 3D editing, 3D objects and facets. I'm sure we'll be stepping through a bridge site design example as part of that, or at least exploring one a little bit. So really exciting, huge functional step forward in our 3D window and 3D functions. We've got some drafting improvements, export options. I know this one's so minor, but you can export directly from location to shapefile. So I know that's very requested, as well as export from terrain to raster DEM, auto grading, so much more. If you're on support, available for free. Check it out. With that, thank you, Craig. Thank you, Matt. Misclicks happen. We are humans. We're operating live, so thank you to everyone for being patient with us. And that kind of concludes our webinar for today. For those of you who are asking questions about the recording for this, so you can look at it for your workflows, give us about 24 hours and our marketing team will have it up on YouTube. So thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure, and see you back here in a couple weeks for the 3D improvements webinar. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.